Guys, I came across a really interesting article this morning. College football expansion top 10 candidates from group of 5 conferences. Now, obviously, we know there's a little bit of slim picking in the group of 5 with the Big 12 sniping those 4 teams, BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, all going to the Big 12. So a little bit of slim pickings, but very interesting article here, really in-depth article on 10 potential group of 5 teams who may join a Power 5 conference. Let's say the Pac-12 is able to keep their 10 teams. Who would they add? Let's say the ACC loses a few teams to the Big 10 or the SEC. Who is next in line in that geographic footprint to be added to the ACC? And then the Big 12, I don't see the Big 12 adding any more group of 5 teams. I think the Big 12, if they're going to add anyone, it's going to be the 4 Pac-12 teams that we've been talking about, and then maybe they also get Oregon and Washington, or they go into the ACC, but that's a lot of speculation. You can take a look at the criteria on how they're ranking each of these teams. This is a great article. It's super in-depth, guys. Total shout out to the people that did this. You can see the total. It has to be at least 20,000 students. The school has to be big enough, so no SMU. Alum base, where are the national eyeballs in a streaming world? It's a big deal. You got to have a decent fan base, right? They're going to be ranking these teams. Who is most attractive to join a conference? The media market, this matters more than anything else. Are you located in the Houston area? Are you located in a big hotbed type city that's going to attract a lot of people? U.S. News and World Report latest ranking. How good is your school? This matters more than you might think. I'm not even sure what that is. AAU member. Are you a part of the Association American Universities? This is a big deal to the Big Ten, and it doesn't. So the Big Ten is not going to be adding a group of 5 teams, so the AAU status isn't going to matter. Tier 1 research. Are you an elite research school with all the stuff that comes with it? This can be a little bit bent. Notre Dame isn't, and Nebraska was, but isn't now. And then stadium size, you would preferably want a team with a bigger stadium. So it said 10 teams, but they list 11. Coming in at 11, it is Temple University. So Temple would fit in the ACC, they say. Pros, massive market with huge alum base, solid school, better recruiting area than you'd think. Yeah, I mean, but it's going to be tough recruiting against Penn State. I mean, I don't know. Cons, it's Temple football. There have been moments, but it's a city on a pro town. And the other major issue, they don't have their own stadium. I think that's probably the biggest issue with Temple football. So yeah, Temple coming in at number 11. I don't see them getting into a Power 5 conference anytime soon. This is assuming we still have 5 Power 5 conferences. We might not. Or maybe the Pac-12 becomes a sub-conference. They add a bunch of Mountain West teams. We don't know. Coming in at number 10, it's Nevada. You can take a look. Media market ranked 104. Pros, good football history. It's the University of Nevada. Tier 1 research helps. Con, football facilities. The stadium aren't great, smallish market. It's not Las Vegas. I think the Pac-12 would pass on potentially adding Nevada, in my opinion. Number 9, Boise State. And this is where I'm really going to have to disagree, because I think this person is putting a lot of weight on alum base, a lot of weight on media markets, when in reality, I think Boise State should be a top 3 or a top 4 team. You take a look, pros, great football history, solid hoops, not awful. Does Boise State have good hoops? I don't think they do, but not awful media market. Cons, school size, and lack of national base. So, yeah, I think they're putting way too much weight on it. I mean, it's not like some of these schools that are above Boise State are going to really knock your socks off in terms of their national presence. Boise State's been such a good school in terms of always producing a good football product on the field. I would have them as a top 3 or a top 4 group of 5 team personally. For football fans, this is an easy fit. Business-wise, it's tough without a whole lot of eyeballs. You're right, that's the major problem. The lack of revenue Boise State brings in. That's why they're ranked 9. And they're actually below UTSA, which is crazy. I'm guessing it's based on media market. Pro, rabid fan base, Texas recruiting base, great media market. Cons, big stadium, but could use a different look and feel for a college market. Academic ranking, I guess, is lacking, and they say the fit would be Big 12. Again, I don't see the Big 12 adding any more group of 5 teams. If you're talking about UTSA, their best bet, in my eyes right now, to join it, maybe the ACC. This is another one, I don't see it happening. I think Boise State would have a much higher chance of joining a Pac-12 than the UTSA does joining like an ACC, because I don't think the Big 12 is going to add any more of these type of teams, in my opinion. Number 7, Fresno State. This is another very interesting one that gets talked a lot in the Pac-12. If they lose 4 more teams and they're trying to replace, could they look at Fresno State? Pros, a decent California media market in range of San Francisco and Sacramento. Big enrollment, great fans, and it fits between a whole bunch of options. The cons, academic ranking, not very good. Not a Tier 1 or AAU. Yes, it's a good market, but it's not massive. It's more of a part of a group school than a must-have. So yeah, Fresno State, into the Pac-12, that's been something that's been talked about. You pretty much know what you're going to get with Fresno State. It's located in California, but it's not one of the top 4 or 5 biggest schools in California. It would be clearly a major step down. Once again, guys, when the Big 12 took those 4 schools, poached those 4 schools, the BYUs, the Houstons, the Cincinnatis, you're left with really slim pickings. You're seeing some of these options. Number 6, Memphis. This could be one for the ACC, I would say. Pros, decent media market, Tier 1 school, hotbed area for football, great hoops. That's a good pro. It does have a good hoops program. Cons, media market isn't that well, see, it says in the pros, decent media market, and then in the cons, media market isn't that great. I'm not sure you can do that with pros and cons. But academic ranking is just okay, decent enrollment, but not a giant. And then it says best fit would be Big 12. I think the only fit would be the ACC for Memphis, in my opinion. Once again, the Big 12 to me, there's only 2 conferences based on how realignment is going that could be at play to add these group of 5 schools. It's the Pac-12 and it's the ACC. The Big 12, in my eyes, would rather remain at 12 teams than reach for some of these lower tier teams. I mean, they already added 4 group of 5 teams last year. They don't want to keep adding these bad teams. They want to make a major move. That's why they want to poach Pac-12 teams. So in my opinion, Memphis' only hope, if they want a Power 5, is the ACC in the event that maybe the Big Ten steals Virginia and North Carolina, or the major exodus happens between the ACC to the SEC, where Florida State, Clemson, and all the others, Miami, and maybe North Carolina or Louisville, go to the SEC. They'd be in line to maybe look at a team like Memphis if they tried to keep their conference together. But of course, at that point, you're not a part of a Power 5 anymore. That's where it becomes 3 super conferences, and we discussed that yesterday. Number 5, East Carolina. I would not have East Carolina anywhere near my top 10. I think they're completely irrelevant. But it says pros, interesting TV market that increases the non-ACC footprint, good stadium size and great fan base, underrated recruiting. Great East Carolina? Okay, maybe do they have a great fan base? I feel like East Carolina is really irrelevant. Even for a group of 5 team. Just my opinion. The other major issue, don't they play at... Oh, no, I thought they did. I thought they played at Raymond James Stadium, but apparently not. So, and then it says cons, Tier 2, and brand name not... Right, exactly. That's what I was saying. The brand of East Carolina is horrible nationally. So East Carolina is not joining one of these Power 5 conferences, even if they become a sub-conference. Maybe the ACC if it gets moved down to a sub-conference, but it says the best fit is the Big 12. Once again, I'll reiterate, the Big 12 is not adding any of these teams. Number 4, Colorado State, kind of surprising. Colorado State's at number 4, Boise State's at number 9. It's due to alum base, right? 240K. And then it says pros, Denver market, relatively untapped by the Big Ten and Big 12. Well, the Big Ten's not adding Colorado State. Good fan base, terrific new state. They got a new stadium. I didn't know that. Congratulations. Academic ranking fine, tier 1. Overshadowed by Colorado just down the road. Hasn't made a huge football splash. Could you imagine if Colorado State became a better team than Colorado? I would love to see something like that. No, Colorado State's not horrible. Part of the Mountain West. And then it says the best fit would be Big 12. I think Colorado State is a team the Pac-12 would look at if they want to try and salvage their conference, if they get a huge exodus. But again, I think the most realistic scenario, if the Pac-12 faces a huge exodus, the conference will dissolve and the Mountain West will actually get stronger because they'll add teams like Oregon State and Washington State. That's just my opinion on how that would play out. Number 3, UNLV. Of course, UNLV, the Las Vegas market there, I'm sure. Pros, it's Vegas. There's a reason why the Raiders wanted to set up shop there. Good media market, lot of students, great stadium. Cons, UNLV football has been awful. Yeah, this is an interesting school that maybe could get back on the map in a potential Big 12 type deal. The main reason they're number 3 is due to the Vegas market, being untapped in terms of college. But yeah, he is right. UNLV has been horrible recently for many, many years. They're number 3. San Diego State, number 2. This is probably the first or the second school the Pac-12 would look at if they are looking at expansion outside of Power 5. This is one of the top schools, San Diego State. Alum base, 300,000. Pros, great media market with no NFL team. Shiny new stadium. Red hot school that just got over 100,000 applications for 2022. Great football program, great hoops. It's San Diego. Cons, non-AAU. The Big 12 wouldn't care about that. Not tier 1. The Big 12 wouldn't care about that either. Yes, there is a fan base, but it needs a rise and a rock. So this is definitely a team. This is one of the top 2 or 3. I might put this at number 1 on my list. I don't know who they have at number 1 quite yet, but I think I would put San Diego State as my number 1 team most likely to be the next group of 5 team, possibly catapulting themselves into a Power 5. But again, I feel like we don't even have a Power 5 structure anymore. We really don't. Because of the realignment, because the SEC is so good, because the Big Ten is so good. Even if you stopped the realignment right now, you have 2 elite power conferences and then 3 sub-conferences and then the group of 5. So I don't even think we have a Power 5 right now, but San Diego State possibly to the Big 12 would be interesting. And then they have UCF at number 1. Media market, I guess. Media market at number 13. I guess that's why they have them. We'll take a look. I would not have South Florida at number 1, especially with their stadium being Raymond James. That's a major turnoff. When you have to go to an NFL stadium, it's a huge turnoff. Pros, Tampa media market, massive student body, decent academic status, outstanding recruiting base. Outstanding recruiting base in terms of what? Florida, you could say the same thing about UTSA. Like, Florida's an extremely competitive recruiting state. And you're not just facing Florida State, Miami, Florida. Ohio State comes in and poaches talent out of Florida. Texas poach, Alabama, every school. So, great, outstanding recruiting base. But for UTSA, I don't think so. It'd be very tough. Cons, atmosphere isn't there with off-campus stadium. Football team has fallen off. Yeah. So it says it's insane that the Big 12 hasn't cleaned this up. If you're going to add UCF, the reason they're adding UCF is due to their success. They want to stay relevant. That's the whole idea behind it. Maybe South Florida makes more sense financially, slightly, but they would rather have a team that's competitive in football to keep their conference relevant than take a bottom feeder like South Florida that has a lack of stadium, a lack of, an enthusiasm around their program. But it says if you're going to add UCF, you have to get South Florida. You own 1 and 4, and you have the Tampa and Orlando markets, combined all of that with the gigantic enrollments of the two schools, and the ACC has to give the... Yeah, so the ACC would definitely be interested if they lost a few schools to the Big Ten or the SEC. I'm sure they'd be interested in South Florida. But again, guys, it's very interesting with this list. Slim pickings, really slim pickings for the group of 5. Really super in-depth list. Really liked going through this and looking at all the different teams. But I think with the Pac-12, you're looking at, I know it wasn't talked about, but a Boise State type team. You're looking at a San Diego State type team. You're looking at maybe UNLV, Colorado State. Again, it's slim pickings. And then the ACC, if they needed to add teams, maybe a team like South Florida, in the event they lost 2 schools. So it'll be very interesting to follow. Are any of, the way college football is shaped right now, there's really no Power 5. That's the main issue. There's a Big 2 and then 3 sub-conferences and then the group of 5. It's like a group of 5 going to a Power 5. You're really not going to a big conference. You're going to a sub-conference if you go to the Pac-12, the ACC. What we've been hearing, the Big 12 is not adding any of these type of teams. What's happening with the Big 12, they're trying to poach the Pac-12. Maybe if that doesn't work, they pivot and they look at teams like this, but I would be shocked. I think they're done adding group of 5 teams, but we will see, guys. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.